And we have got major breaking news in the state of Wisconsin tonight. NBC News projects Janet Protasiewicz has defeated Daniel Kelly to become the state's next Supreme Court justice. Her victory gives the court a liberal majority for the first time in 15 years. That new majority will determine the future of abortion access in the state, a major win for abortion rights advocates. Or, as the chair of the Wisconsin Democratic Party put it earlier, quote, "This election was a release valve for 12 years of Democratic rage in Wisconsin about Republicans rigging our state and smashing our democracy, and then using that power to rip away our rights." Joining me from Madison, Wisconsin to discuss, Jesse Opoyan, Capitol Bureau Chief for the Capitol Times. Jesse, you and I were together last night. It is very rare that people get this fired up, this excited, this much money gets raised for a state Supreme Court election. Things are very different with this race. What's it like in Wisconsin tonight?
I think we're pretty used to expecting very close races here. So the fact that we have results, less than 2 hours after polls closed, and we've got a 10-point victory margin here, it's a little unusual. And I know that liberals and those who supported Janet Protasiewicz are pretty darn happy right now.
In Wisconsin, women have not had access to abortion in their home state since last year. What does this election mean for them?
So even before the Dobbs ruling, there were only 3 cities in the state of Wisconsin where a woman could get an abortion. There were quite a few restrictions that had already been passed over the last decade or so, decade plus really. So access was already limited, but we went from very limited access to no access at all, to going back to a ban that was passed in 1849, less than a year after Wisconsin became a state, where you could not get an abortion with any exceptions but for if the life of a mother is in danger, and that was defined very vaguely. So it's pretty much all but certain that a legal challenge to that ban is going to be coming to the state Supreme Court, and having a liberal majority for the first time since 2008 makes that look a whole lot different than it would have a few months ago.
Well, it's a huge issue. Abortion is just one issue. Go broader. How much of an impact could this have on the way congressional maps of Wisconsin are drawn? Because Wisconsin is one of the most gerrymandered states out there.
And that's really probably issue number 2. There have been multiple challenges to those electoral maps over the last few years. I know that the groups who have been involved in those challenges are already talking about meeting and getting a new challenge together to get that before the state Supreme Court. Wisconsin has had a very entrenched Republican majority in the state House for more than 10 years at this point, and that has defined a lot of the policies that have been passed here. We can expect a challenge to come before the court. We don't know what that'll look like yet or how it'll play out, but that has implications not only at the state legislature level, but as you mentioned, at the congressional level. It could have massive changes, and it could also undo, a large number of Republican policies that were enacted here in Wisconsin over the last 10 years, going back to Act 10 and other, labor rights issues. So there's potentially huge impact here.
We don't know turnout, but what does this election tell you about where voters in Wisconsin are? I mean, Wisconsin is an important swing state.
It is. I think it says to us that the energy is still there on abortion. The momentum is still there, and it's not just abortion, but like we talked about, it's so-called fair maps. The momentum is still on Democrats' side, on liberals' side, and I think there was a question of are voters going to get tired of some of these issues? Is there going to be fatigue? And tonight tells us we've got a 10-point margin. There's no fatigue there.
There is no fatigue. There is a whole lot of energy. The question will be, will you see this kind of energy in other races across the country? Suddenly, people are focused on these very important elections. Jesse Opoyan, thank you for being here tonight.